I don't lose the connection. I'm on my computer this evening, and last time I did it, I was on my telephone. So I wanted to talk about container gardening and see if people had questions about container gardening, share some of the things that I think are important tips for container gardening, and also to see, if I can help somebody with it. So I think that for me, Yami, hi, Cynthia, hi. I think I'm saying Yami. I hope I'm saying that right. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Um, yeah, and I wanted to talk about this container gardening because it's a big deal, and I was container gardening before it became so big. Because I think when I first started growing in grow bags, there wasn't hardly anybody at all growing in a grow bag. So for me, I grow in all kind of containers. I grow in grow bags, I grow in pots, I grow in the large 17-gallon containers. I have trees in there. I grow in the 100-gallon big grow beds. Just everything. Totes. I have totes. I have things growing in totes. So I'm using a lot of different kinds of containers. So I wouldn't say that any one container is more important than another container. I have not found that to be true. For me, I think the most important thing is location. Location, location, location. Where you set up your container. Okay. Then the second most important thing, I wrote myself a few notes here, is your soil. I mean, if you buy inexpensive soil, if it's a good soil that the plants are going to get what they need out of it, then it's a good thing. But if it's not, then they're not going to do very well. And you might find that doing the container gardening, you think that, oh, I don't like this pot. It didn't do well in the pot. Well, it's a lot of variables that you have to consider whether or not that plant is going to do well in that container, in that location, and the care that you give it. So all these variables are important. Hi, welcome. So I think that when you look at it, the location, you need good sun. Unless you're growing some type of plant that is shade loving, then you want to have that in an area that is not going to get that beaten down sun on it, and it's going to have enough shade that it'll do well. And so I think that that's something that you have to take into consideration. And if you don't know, then you have to watch your plants and see how they're doing, if they seem stressed or whatever. And so I think that that's number one, location. Number two, the soil. And then think about container. Think about the container. Because for me, I don't go by where they say this is good for containers, that's good for containers. I'll grow an indeterminate tomato in a 5-gallon bucket and get plenty of tomatoes. So I think that when they say this is good for a container, this plant is good for a container, that's a good guideline. But I always try and push the limit and see how something's going to do. And my experience has been that it does well in there as long as you get a plant what it needs. And if you put something big like that, that's going to get big, it's going to need a lot of care. Let me see. I'm trying. Oh, hi. Is that Emma, hi. All about the soil life and good feed over the season. Yes, yes. The soil life. Yes, that's the second thing that I mentioned was your soil. So, yes, your soil is so important. And when you're in a container, it's not like in the ground, they're different. So, soil life in the ground, there's a whole bunch of soil life in there. But if you put something in a container, a lot of times those potting soils and whatnot, they may not have any life in them at all. And most of the time don't. You will have to add things to your container to give it some life, you know. And I think that one of the things I do is I make up my weed fertilizer with my dandelions because the dandelion is very, very good. If people have no idea, not only is it good medicinal qualities, people call it a weed. I don't know why it came about being a weed, but the medicinal qualities of it, and also the taproot goes all the way down, deep, deep, deep. And I pull mine up. I've made videos on this, show people how I do it, show people where I put it, and they can see my results of these pots, what I got from these pots, which I had a harvest. Big blessing last year in a drought, and I was using that weed fertilizer. Okay, something like that. If you want to put in some of your native soil in there, if you want to put in some compost in there, different things that you're going to need to add to that to make your soil life good and give it some soil life because it probably don't have any coming from the bags. So that's very important. So I think that let's see here. I think that another thing is think about your containers. Just think about the actual containers. I don't think that for me, no container is better than another one in my garden. And I think if you look at some of my videos, see some of my harvests, you'll see me growing a corn in a grow bag, 15-gallon grow bag. You'll see me, I grow stuff in all different kinds of containers. So I think what you have to do, get you the soil, start out, that's your foundation. Then from there, you go ahead and decide, okay, what plant am I going to put in this size container? Because it does matter what size container you put something in. Because if you take something in, like, say, for instance, I don't know, like I would never plant a watermelon or any kind of melon thing like that in a small container. I would, even though I let mine vine on the ground, I want them in a bigger container. And that's what I do. And does well. So I'm sharing with you my experience with containers. And I have 131 containers in my garden. And if you go look, if you're new to this channel, you will see so let's see. Standard of compost has been gradually declining over the years. Essential. We move to create our, look like out, but maybe it's our own where possible. Oh, absolutely. I'm that's one of my goals for this season here is that I have to I have made a little compost, but I need much more, and that I need to my compost. I do not trust This is me personally. I would not trust, I've never purchased compost like buying compost to put in because you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. You're paying for something somebody tell you. So I don't trust that personally. But I think if people have good results with that, then good, go for it. I want to make my own, and that's a goal for me to make more and to get more serious about compost in my containers. So I think that it's so much demand. This is just my personal opinion. I think it's so much demand for things now that maybe the quality has gone down. And I can't say that for sure because I don't use it. But I know there are some good products out there. There are good things out there that can be trusted. And I always tell people my go to is cow manure and bone meal. Now, I may do other things that I do for my pots, but those are the two things that I'm always going to be using. Now, probably if I get more compost going, then I'll be using more compost and I may not have to have the cow manure. And another thing I want to try this year is putting some of my native soil in my pots, putting some of that soil life in there. Because when I think about it, I think now you got all this soil out here in the ground. Well, I call it dirt. And you grow it in containers, which I grow in containers because I have a back injury and some health things going on. And for me, it's better for me to have it in the container than to be, doing the in-ground. I've done the in-ground. I've been gardening for over 20 years. I've done in-ground successfully, but I had to change up. I'm at the stage now that it was necessary for me to change up. So does anybody have any kind of questions or anything? Because I'm just kind of leaving this open and talking about my experience and seeing if I can be of assistance. Because basically, I'm talking to beginner gardeners. Beginner gardeners are out there and you need help. I've had a lot of beginner gardeners that come ask me questions, watch some of the things that I do, and they have let me know that they are grateful for getting help. So that's basically what I want to try to do is put this out there when people say, oh, I don't know how to do this. I've never gardened before in my life. I'm afraid to garden. I get all these things. I get the questions. I get the things that people say to me. And also I get people that are have some type of handicap. They may be disabled. They may be in a wheelchair. And I just let people know container gardening is great for you. You can set that up and you can still garden. It's just a different way of gardening, but it can be successful. And I sit down sometimes when I'm gardening and I feel like my back, okay, I need a break or whatever, I need to get off my feet. And I go ahead and I sit down and I can work in my container and do whatever I need to do. When I walk around and do stuff, but when I can sit down, I sit down when I can. So, I think that absolutely containers are wonderful. And I just want to mention, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. And the other thing that I was thinking about is what you plant in a container. Something like I said, I touched on that briefly, like I wouldn't put like a watermelon in a little small container because you need to give it some room. When I put plant some corn, I'm going to get at some room. When I plant some sunflowers, I'm going to get at some room. So you have to think about what it is that you're putting in that container and then try to put the largest container, um, use that one, and then the smaller ones you can use. Like I find for my peppers, I can put them in a 5 gallon bucket, and they seem to be happy in there. I find that with my okra, I've taken my okra and put that in the 5 gallon bucket, and I didn't know how it would do. It did well. I had a very good harvest last season. So I was just like, oh, okay. And I think that this is the other thing, watering. You do container gardening. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Let me just see here. All right. Watering. Now, if you can set up some type of irrigation, that would be beautiful. I don't have any type of irrigation set up at this point, but let's see, Emma, off to see what 5 gallons is. Oh, okay. So 5 gallon buckets. I think that's what you mean. Well, the 5 gallon buckets is just a regular bucket, and it holds 5 gallons, and they white. Usually they're white. I've seen some different color ones though, and you can get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Tractor Supply. They have those. And when you go in there and you ask them, they know exactly what you're talking about, and they'll show you where they're at. And when I was first doing my container gardening, when I first started out, when I was making it, I have pots. I started out with pots. Then I went to adding the 5 gallon buckets because I had never used them before. And I found I liked those. And then I started with the grow bags, and I found I liked those. And then the last thing I added in was the totes, and I found I liked those. So I like them all, but just for different things. Now, when I had done my sweet potatoes, I like to have them in something big. And I had my largest pot. The first time I did it, I did my largest container that I had at the time was where I put them at. And then when I got my harvest, it was very good. For the first time, I was shocked. So then now I always try to put it in something larger. This past season, I did some in totes. And that was good too. So I'm trying to think if I ever did a sweet potato in a grow bag. I know a lot of people do, very successful. I've done white potatoes in the grow bag. I may have, but I don't remember doing it. Let's see. Okay, Emma, 19 liters. Okay. If you don't mind, if you would just you guys, if you share your zone, that would be beautiful, because that way I'll know where people are located, or if you in another country or whatever. Okay, if that's something you feel comfortable with doing. All right. So okay, you're in Scotland. Okay. All right. Welcome. Welcome. That's wonderful. Um, that's nice to know, the type. Do you grow in containers there? Do you have a container gardening or a garden, or, you know, I would love to know that. Um, Let me see what else I wanted to mention on here. Yeah, and one thing I was going to say is try different varieties, because you may try to grow something in a container, and I haven't had a problem with anything not liking the container because I just pay close attention and jump right on it. If it's something, water it, fertilizer, you know, nutrients, I try to stay on top of before something has a problem. If I see something I think that I need to do something about. So, but I think that that is something to consider is varieties, because I think some varieties would be better in a container. Um, and maybe some things might be better in the ground. But see, I don't do the in ground stuff. The only thing I have in the ground is that along my garage, I have, I usually plant tomatoes there. I plant some tomatoes there. And this year I may do something different over there. I don't know. Yeah, but I do a lot. I grow a lot in containers. People, you'd be amazed what you can grow in a container. Hey, Diva Jones on 3. Hey, how are you? Okay, and then Emma said, I'm still waiting on spring, dying to sow some seeds, but weather is not playing ball. Oh, you should see what I have right now waiting on me outside. It's a winter wonderland that I just got, and it's still going on right now. That's why I say, well, why not do a live and talk about gardening and take your mind off the snow outside? Oh, you good? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Every day I get another day to live, I'm doing good, no matter what's happening. Yes, I'm waiting on spring, but I'm trying not to think about it too much, because then when I think about it too much, then I just feel like, oh, it's never going to get here. So I try to focus on, well, what other stuff can I talk about or do or whatever. So I've been sowing some seeds, and um, I don't really look at a lot of catalogs too much. I know maybe that sounds strange. Maybe a lot of people look at a lot of catalogs. I kind of know what I want to plant, and I might look at varieties, different varieties, because I know, let's see here. Every day I've been doing things, Diva Jones. Every day I've been doing things, starting seeds, getting my beds ready, all that kind of stuff. Yes. Very good. Very good. I wish I could be getting my beds ready, because my beds are in bad shape. Well, what I mean by that, I didn't clear them out. Well, I cleared out some of them, but I didn't clear them all out, because I kind of thought about that squirrel I had last time that went to digging and everything. And then my dirt was all fluffy and all prepared, and the squirrel was throwing the dirt out on the ground. And so I thought, I'm not going to do every bed this time. I'm going to see what kind of results I get from that. I know they say some things could winter over in your soil if you don't clear it out. Well, it's kind of a test this season. I'm going to see if I find that to be true. If I have any problems with that, I just want to get out there early enough to prepare the beds. But one thing I said to myself is, I'm go too fast on stuff. I'm gonna take my time. I'm take my time, go out there. I'm gonna enjoy the journey, because are you guys enjoying the journey of gardening, or is it feeling like work? I know it's work. We all know gardening is hard work, but are you enjoying the journey of gardening, the experience? Because I think sometimes we can get so into, like, say for instance, somebody like me, a creator, making videos, and I got to do this and I got to do that, and that, and I don't want to get caught up in that. I want to stop and say, let me enjoy this. Like sometimes I go out in my garden and I just sit in my chair. I don't have a lot of time to do that, but sometimes I just sit in my chair and just look around and just say, wow, I did this. This is beautiful. Just take time to enjoy your garden. Listen to the birds. I listen to the birds. I watch the birds. They got little personalities. And I just take time to enjoy for a moment, however long I can do it for. And then start back doing whatever it was that I had to do. So I think that I want to focus on that, enjoying the journey. Do you guys enjoy the journey? Also, that clearing out that garden, Diva, I could use some help with that. I don't have a garden family. Nobody that I know in my family is doing gardening, so I'm on my own. Um, I don't get help with it. So that's why I say I'm not going to be stressing myself out about trying to you know, coming out the gate running. I'm going to come out, do what I can do, and take care of me. Let me get my plane ticket. Can you pick me up at the airport? Yeah, I'll pick you up at the airport. Yes, I could use the help, I'm telling you. So I think that another thing that is important, we talked about watering. I talked a little bit about it. If you can have some irrigation, ideally for containers, that's the best way to go, in my opinion. I don't have any irrigation, but I do have some soaker hoses that I bought from years ago and never used them. They brand new. I just put them in the garage, didn't even use them. But after we had that drought all season last year, oh, I'm pulling them babies out this year. I'm going to be seeing how I can hook them up if that will work in the setup that I have. And put, I don't have enough for all my containers, but I feel like if I put some up, that's less watering that I'll have to do. And I want to do that. So, and then who knows, I may get some more types of things to put in there to have some type of irrigation, because the weather is changing so much here I'm in upstate New York, zone 6A and B. And we always had plenty of rain. That was never an issue. That's why those soaker hoses were never used, because it was always plenty of rain. Well, now that things are changing and we had a drought all season, yeah, we got some rain, but not a lot. And it was mostly drought. And so I find that, let's see here. Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss anybody. So I find that it's different. So now I got to adjust and adapt to that difference. And so that's why I'm going to try to incorporate some type of, additional water sources, because, I'm going to do the best I can with it, because everything has just gone through the roof with prices. So, things that you might have had a plan to do, it just could be so expensive now that you have to put it on the back burner and wait till you can, do it, because it's just so expensive to do it now. So that's what I'm finding is happening with me. So if you can have irrigation, that's great. If you don't have, containers need more water. They need more water, because when I first set up my container garden, I don't know where my head was because I was thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be so easy. I'm making this easy on. So I never thought about droughts. But now, with, the size of my garden and then being in a drought, that's a lot of work and a lot of watering. So I do it. I try not to neglect my stuff. I do it because I figure like this: if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right because I want the results that I want. And I don't want to be half stepping on that. Hi. Best Bible Facts. How are you? So we're talking about this container gardening and talking about our containers and anything y'all want to talk about with y'all gardening. Diva Jones shared that she's out there getting hers ready. And that's beautiful. So, hey, I wish I could be out there with you. Getting mine ready. So, let's see. Emmy, I have a water tank feeding 4 containers in my greenhouse, and this year have bought more to extend the system. Not sure if you have the company over there with you, Autopo, been a godsend. Wow. That sounds like a godsend. That is beautiful. I don't know if we have it over here. After, I will check it later and see if we do have it over here. That sounds really good. I don't have a greenhouse. I wish I had one. I wish I had one. Now I have to, everything I do, I have to be considerate of the weather because we have long, cold winters. And although this winter was very, very different, we didn't have all that. We're getting snow, and it's cold, but not as cold as we have had in the past. I mean, below zero and all that. We're not having all that. And then we've been having in the 40s and the 30s and the 50s and the 60s, all kind of weather. Oh, you just came on? Oh, wonderful. Just wonderful. I'm glad you came on and caught us. Well, I'm opening this up to questions about container gardening and gardening in general. If you have a question, something that you want to put out there and or talk about, you want me to mention or whatever. And I'm just kind of having a chat and a Q&A. So we talked about, I'll just go over, like, the main thing with me is location for where you put your containers at. And that all depends on what you're going to put in that container. So I have my stuff, my yard is basically full sun. That's a blessing. It's full sun. And I have a few areas that I don't even use that maybe don't have as much because there's some trees growing over them. But so sun isn't a problem for me. I have to think about shade if I need it, but I really don't grow things that I can think of that need shade. So the full sun is basically what it is for me. It's full sun, and that works out for me. So I have my containers all set up in the full sun. And I would say for the most part, if you're gardening, you want to have it set up in full sun, whether it's in the ground or a container garden. where do you purchase all of your soil for the containers? Well, I like to, first of all, I purchase soil from different places. I've purchased soil from Home Depot. I've purchased soil from Lowe's. I've purchased soil from Tractor Supply. I've purchased soil from Country Max. I purchased soil from a lot of different places. I think that I try to, I always say, I try to buy the best soil that I can't afford. So to me, I could never afford to get the stuff, but I have to get it. So I try to go for the best that I can, that I think it is. I don't really find myself buying like topsoil. I don't really buy that kind of soil because I don't really know where that soil come from, because one time I had my driveway redone and there was a lot of soil that they took out of there. And then they asked me, did I want the soil? I said, no, I don't want the soil, because I knew that soil had been there for years with road salt going into it, because it's right at the end of the driveway and they salt our road. So I knew that soil had been for years getting all that in it. And so I didn't want the soil. But what if they took that soil somewhere and sold it to somebody for topsoil or whatever? So I think, to me personally, I think you should kind of be careful of that, because you don't know where that soil came from and what's in that soil. So I hope that answers your question about where I buy my soil. I think it's and then last year I started making some soil. I started making it. I made it with I put in peat moss, cow manure, bone meal, vermiculite, perlite, and I said cow manure. I think I said that. Ideally, if I had enough compost, that would have been good. Or maybe throw in some of the native soil in there. That would have been good, to add some of that soil life from your soil in there. So I'm trying to experiment more now, because I'm finding that the soils have gone up so expensive. And not only that, I've noticed, I think someone had mentioned earlier about the quality going down in the, what were we talking about? Compost. I've noticed that the quality has gone down in some things that I used to get. Like, I get the soil now and I got like a lot of wood chips and wood. And I have been buying that for years, and that never had that in there like that. So I'm noticing like, So I noticed last year I tried some different. There's a local nursery here, and I started buying some little soil bags from them, because I'm kind of just checking, because I think. Let me see here, I'm missing something. She's Best Bible Facts. So did you put that? I'm trying to think if I put any soil at all. When I was making mine, I didn't put any soil in it, but I'm saying it would have probably been better. Well, I had good results with it. I had excellent results with it, but I just think, as far as soil life goes, I want to try to add some soil life to whatever I do. So whether it's compost, whether it's putting in the weed fertilizer in there, whether it's putting in some native soil, I want to try to get out there and do it. And I'm just hoping this year that I'm going to have time to go out there and just get some native soil from some places on my land, and have it where I can add it to stuff, because I just think that would be, I think it would be a good thing because, we ban all these bags of soil. And then what about all the soil you have on your land? What's wrong with that? I mean, unless it's bad or something like that, but you may have better soil there. If I could grow in the ground, it's physically able to grow in the ground, I would be having all my stuff in the ground. But I can't. So, I want to utilize some of that soil and put it into some of my containers. That's going to be a test for me. Try that out. So I hope I answered that question. So you asked me, did I put the soil in the? No, I didn't. Oh, okay. She said, okay. Yeah. So I want to do that this year. I want to try and do that this year. I'm very ambitious and I have to be careful because I don't have any help. So I have to be careful to not get too ambitious. But my ambition right now is to go ahead and start getting some of that little native soil up. But see, that's going to be hard to get up because for years, I haven't done anything with it. And I do have clay soil, but clay soil is easy to work. I mean, you can add some stuff to some clay soil and you can have some real good soil. So I figured with what I already have and then some clay soil with it will all work together in a good way. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to have the time to do that. But see, it's all going to depend on what type of season we have. That's what you have to think about too. You got to think about weather. What if you might have weather that happens and you can't get out there. You might have, like what we had last year, high winds all the time. You had a drought, so that put more. You had to water because you wasn't getting rain. Different things will slow you down. I was thinking of cutting the bases out of some of my containers to allow the roots to get down into the ground and hopefully help with watering too. What do you think of that? I think that's a good idea. I see there are gardeners that do that. They have the roots out of the containers and they have the stuff, and some of them didn't even cut the root out, but the plant just decided it wanted to be in there and just went on down into the ground. So I think that that's an excellent idea. And also what it does is when you do water or when it rains with that container around there, it's going to make sure that rain goes right in that area and not roll off somewhere else. So I think that's a good idea. People do that all the time. So there's nothing wrong with that. One thing I like about my container garden is I have woodchucks. Now, so far I've only seen one, but that's one too many. And a woodchuck is terrible. And some people don't know what a woodchuck is. I know down south they call it, what do they call a woodchuck? Oh, I know my grandmother had told me what they call you. It'll come back to me. But we call it a woodchuck here. But it's like that thing that they have come out and tell you whether you're going to have 6 months of bad weather or not. That's a woodchuck, that thing. And a groundhog. I think that's what it is, a groundhog. Some people don't know when you say woodchuck, they don't know what it is. But anyway, they tunnel underground. So if I have my stuff going down in the ground, the woodchuck is tunneling under the ground. And plus, I have field mice. Let's see. Diva said, yeah, groundhog. Yes, that's right. I know my grandmother had told me that. Oh, you had one time ate my greens down. Yes, yes, and gee, ate your greens down to the ground. I know that's right. That's why I say if you have one, it's one too many. Because a woodchuck, you will have to do something about that, or they will eat your stuff to the ground. And not only that, they do, because I had a terrible problem with them years ago. The woodchuck, they like the tender new growth. So they go around and they just go from plant to plant to plant, and they can devastate your garden. And then if they didn't eat it all to the ground, they wait for it to come back up and then they go in on it again. Oh, they are horrible to have. So anyway, if you got your stuff in the ground here with me, I had an awful problem with the woodchuck. Let's see here. Oh, you call them moles? Okay. Oh, because they kind of look like little fat beavers. That's what I say. They kind of look like a little fat beaver. Um, Groundhogs. Uh-huh. Yep. Okay, moles. All right, moles. Yeah, they are something else. So I had stopped gardening years ago because the woodchuck, I had an in-ground garden, beautiful, big in-ground garden, fenced in, beds, raised beds, everything, and had the fence electrified because we found out we had woodchucks. We had the fence electrified. They said put it so many feet down in the ground, electrified. We did all that. Them woodchucks was determined. That woodchuck, I would look out of my window and watch that woodchuck. It would come up to that fence and try to get ready to go in the garden and get shocked, and it would shake on the ground and shake. And then it decided, oh, it kept on trying. It couldn't get in. So they tunneled underneath and got in there. And so that when they make tunnels, they are terrible. So I have found, even though I've seen a woodchuck with my stuff being in containers, even though they can climb up on something if they want to, but I have not had it climbing up on anything and messing with anything. And I also, that was another point I wanted to talk about on here, is you have to protect your containers. Let's see here. Diva Jones, they do a lot. They are cute until they are in your garden. You know that's right. Emma says, whack-a-mole. They can run so fast. I remember when I had them. I had years ago when my kids were smaller, and I said I put a bounty on that woodchuck's head. That's if you get that woodchuck, you got $50, $50 bounty on that woodchuck's head. My sons couldn't catch it. They couldn't get it. They can take off. They hibernate. Here, I don't know. I guess they hibernate everywhere. I think that's right. They all hibernate because I'm thinking about when they comes out and tell you whether you're gonna have bad weather or not. They come out of hibernation and they be hungry. They be smaller. They be skinnier. When they get through eating your garden down to the ground, by the time the end of the season, when they go in hibernation, they fat, roly poly. I can't stand them. I can't stand them. And like my neighbors and stuff, they come out. I had neighbors that would come out with a little gun for them. I probably shouldn't have said that on here, but anyway. Let's see. They do. They are cute until they are in your garden. Yes, whack-a-mole. Well, you have to protect your garden, whether it's in the ground or in containers. So I think that for me right now, my plan was to get a fence. But with all these expenses and everything going up and everything being so unstable, I'm not going to get a fence right now. So right now I'm using that tulle fabric. And so far it's been working to keep it's hard work because that's another thing added on you, putting that on there, taking that off of there, because you got some things that need to be pollinated and you got them covered up with that tool, and so you have to take it off unless you're going to self-pollinate them and just keep it on there. But I take it off because I'm not going to run around self-pollinating everything. So you got to protect however you decide, whether you're going to get a fence, whether you're going whatever you're going to do. But since I had a fence in the past and that fence didn't stop certain things, I'm not ready to do that now. I've seen people and heard people, seen on YouTube, people had fence, it didn't stop them. It didn't stop the squirrel. I know it won't stop a woodchuck. I've had experience with that. Squirrels, even if you electrify it, you better be careful because the squirrel can jump and they can get in there, and animals get determined to do something. So right now I'm using the tool, and I'm not going to say what I won't do or what I won't get, but right now that's what I'm doing. And it's working on the deer. It's working on the squirrels. So far, I haven't seen the woodchuck doing anything. But I'm keeping my eye out because the woodchuck, you will know if you have one when your stuff is eaten down to the ground. So, Diva, OMG. And best Bible fact, Lord. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I think that that's one thing that you have to do is protect your containers. You might think it's in a container and you don't need to protect it. Yes, you need to you need to protect it. You definitely need to, because if you have a little squirrel like the one I had that dig in your container like some little maniac out there, I was so upset about that, throwing out my good dirt. I got everything all prepared, had all my containers ready, and then you just went from container, just doing all that. So, for animal lovers, I don't kill them. I relocate them. I take them to a nice new home 20 miles away from here. So you have to protect your food. If you don't, they will eat it to the ground. And not just woodchucks, because I remember I saw a YouTuber that had a hazelnut tree, and I have 2 hazelnut trees, and he had a big one. Mine are still young, and his was big, and he was so proud. He was talking about how it had all these hazelnuts, and he was showing us, and I was looking at it and admiring it and thinking, wow, one day mine going to be like that. And then he came on there like a few weeks, maybe a month later. It might have been a few weeks later. He said the squirrels, it was an army of them. They cleaned his tree, didn't leave him anything. And I was just like, oh my goodness, why didn't he protect it some kind? He was so upset because he was so proud of that. And he didn't get anything from it. So after that, I think I saw him starting to cover things in his garden, covering some of his trees and stuff. And so, I want to try to keep my trees lower if I can. I'm trying to read books on how to prune them properly to keep them lower because my trees are in containers and they're relatively new. But I do plan on putting them in the ground. And because I want to have them where I can protect them easily. Because I'm not going to be getting up on no ladder trying to do this, and I'm not paying anybody to do that. So I have to plan ahead, keep these things manageable for me. Okay. And that's another thing that you think about. If you got stuff in containers that's big things like trees and all that, then are you going to keep them in a container? Are you going to put them in the ground? I'm going to put mine in the ground because I think that although my little 1 year old tree did very well last year, it's producing apples. I still think I want it in the ground. So let's see what we have here. Oh, Maui Mango. Hi. Hello. How are you? I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you. Oreo Times One. Hello there. How are you doing? In Puerto Rico, I believe. She's saying hello to everyone. I think that you have to think about these things. You have to plan for these things. And, you can do as much as you can. Give it a hand clap. Hey. Yeah, just think about them because you have to budget for stuff. None of us are rich. We have to budget for stuff. And if you need certain things, then you have to wait until you can be able to get that thing, and prioritize, prioritize what's the most important thing for now. If you got something eating your garden down to the ground, that's a priority because you won't have a garden if you don't deal with that. So that's what I want to talk about, protecting your garden. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up, go ahead, give me the thumbs up. Then I said, I talked about watering, talked about pests, talked about you need to do something about them. And I think that and I talked about touched on varieties, different varieties that you might want to put in a container, and see how it works out for you. I'll put, like I said, a big indeterminate tomato in a 5-gallon bucket, and I've done it and had big harvests from it. But you have to take care of it in a certain way because it's in that small container and it's going to need a lot. So you have to think about that and think about the variety. If you don't want to put that in there and you want to put that in the ground, have less work in the ground, if you I have a little area along the garage, and that area doesn't really have a lot of weeds and stuff. So I don't really have to get down there and do anything. I just get my little hole, my little hula hole, and get the weeds, like that. And I still plant tomatoes there. But now you have to think about other things. Now I got trees and stuff that's growing up around there that's creating some shade over there. So now on my property, I can trim some stuff. And then the neighbor on the other side, she got a tree over there that is going to grow up to shade my little spot. And so she said she don't care if I cut on it. So I am. It's making shade for my little tomatoes. Oreo Times One. Nice to know you are well. Yes, I am. I'm well, and I'm thankful. I'm very thankful to be well enough to be gardening, and that to be alive. I'm a great grandmother. You don't take anything for granted. That every day is a blessing, no matter what's going on. What's my first and last frost date? I know that my coming up on spring, the frost date is April 30th. And usually the last one is mid-October, around there. But the weather is so strange. Those are only guidelines. What I have found, because what I'm doing now, how I'm planting my seedlings away, I'm planning much later planting for me because I know how fluctuating our weather can be. So you have to keep that in mind also. Okay, true. Yes. Let's see. Best Bible facts. I heard that if you put certain vegetables by each other and help reduce, have reduced growth, what is your thoughts on that? Let me see if I understand that question. That if you put certain vegetables by each other and help reduce growth. Huh. I'm not sure about that question. Reduce, is that what you meant? Reduce the growth? If you put certain vegetables by other vegetables? So I'm going to go with what I think you're asking. Um, yes, you have to, if you put something more aggressive by something else, um, it can reduce the growth of that other thing. The one that's more aggressive might, kind of make the other one not do well. I had it's a particular marigold that I have, and it's like a big one, get a big head on it. And it's beautiful and it's very strong plant. And I put it in with my tomatoes in my containers where I usually put flowers in there and whatnot. But then I said, I had to keep cutting that plant back because it was so aggressive that it was inhibiting the tomato from doing what it needed to do. So I cut that one back. And then I thought to myself, next year, I'm not going to put that in there like that. This is the type of thing that I think I would put on in the spot that I have some stuff in the ground. I think it would be better suited for something like that, or in a pot where you just put it in there and just let it go in that pot on its own. So I think that, yeah, that can happen. Let's see here. What I meant to say is help produce growth if they are planted near each other. Yes. Companion planting. Yes. That's very true. Some things benefit other things, and they complement one another. And they're good to put them together. Like a lot of people believe in putting basil with your tomatoes, and it's going to repel this, or your marigolds, or different things. I sort of do. I don't know what they call it. I think it's poly something. Um, the way I grow, I mix everything with everything. I mix everything with everything, and just see how it all does. And it does well because I'm constantly watching my plants. If it needs something, I'm on it. I gotta be on it, because one thing, if you have something that you putting in there, like when I did the Three Sisters last season, where I put in the corn, and then I put the beans, and then I had the squash, and then I had, they all helped one another, because once my corn was finished, I planted the beans later. But when my corn was finished, I left the corn thing in there and planted the beans, and the beans went up there. And I had the squash, and my squash, I didn't let it go up, but my squash, I let it go on the ground, but it went on the ground. But I'm just saying, they all seem to like being in there together. There was no problem with them. So I think that that's absolutely true. And say, you're so right. The old rules don't apply. Weather is wacky, but sounds the same as here in Scotland. Yes. But see, that's why it's good that we communicate with one another. And see, I think that that's where some people might get disappointments. I'll put it like that because they trying to go by the old things or what they said, like your zone or your last frost date or whatever. They're going by that as concrete and they're going ahead and doing things according to that. And then they getting things that happen that hurt what they did. And so for me, I'm trying to constantly be adapting to all these changes because they constant. We are having such horrible winds and wind damage, damaging my home, ripping shingles off my home, knocking my arbors down. We never had wind like this. We were not in a windy place. I'm now in a windy place. So now when I plant my big mammoth sunflowers or my corn stalks, I got to think about that. Okay, now you have these winds that's coming. It could knock your corn over. It could knock your sunflower. I had a big sunflower that was knocked over. And that was it. It was done for it. It was beautiful. So I have to think about that. So, when I put my corn and stuff in there, I'm thinking about that. And if I see the winds are really bad, then I might want to I have stuck stakes in stuff and even in a grow bag. I don't stick the stake in the grow bag. I stick the stake on the ground part and then try to support the corn thing like that. Most of my wind comes from the west. The bad winds come from the west. Taking my apple tree that was in a pot. All of them were there together. There was no problem. But now there's a problem. So I had to take that apple tree, put it on the wheelbarrow, get it over to the cattle panel, attach it to the cattle panel because it kept blowing that tree down and it was going to lose all of my apples. So lucky it did it twice before I finally got it through my head. You need to move this tree. And then it was fine. So you have to adjust to the changes that you're having and not think these are temporary changes because guess what? They're not. They're not temporary. So you got to be prepared. So let's see. Yeah, polyculture. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, thank you, Emma. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. That's the way I plant. And I love planting like that. And it works well for me. Let's see what else is here. Oreo one, you are a great plant sitter. Okay. Lynette Gaskin, hello and welcome to the chat. Hi, Cynthia. Just caught your live, enjoying the channel. Logged in from North Carolina. Welcome, Zone 8. And we're experiencing high winds now as well. March tends to be messy anyway. We are too. And I'm going to tell you something that is really hard for me that's happening now here with the weather. And that is, we used to cold, we used to snow, but what's happening is with these increased winds and torrential rains in the winter, we never had this. Now, this is what happened to me. And I had a icy mess out there. We had the snow that came down. Well, that wasn't bad if you just had the snow that came down. For us, we're used to it. You just go out there with the snow blower and blow the snow. But Before you could do that, you had the torrential rains coming down. So then the rain came down, and then you had the temperature plummet. So then guess what you had then? So this weather, when it got to that, whew, I'm telling you, I couldn't do anything with that. You got to have somebody come with a snowplow and plow you out, because that stuff is one icy mess. And the mouth of my driveway, because I live on a busy road, and the snow plows go down and they throw the snow up on your drive. So when they threw it up there, it was ice. You couldn't do anything with it. It was horrible. So this is a change this winter that is awful, awful. If you got a truck with a snowplow on it, you good. So that's something that I got to adjust to now. And I'm just like, wow, when did we start having torrential rains with snowstorms and snow? And it don't just come down and melt it, which you think, oh yeah, the rain come down and melt it. The temperature plummets, so now it's all frozen. Terrible. So this is one of the adjustments. Maui Mango was windy here in JA2, plus this harsh drought. Oh, I feel for you. That drought is horrible. And that wind. And if you got them two things going together, then the wind is drying your stuff out. And then you got a drought. So then if you're in the middle of gardening, you got to do a lot of watering, or you have things that die. Things can just die. And that's another thing I'm concerned about is my ornamentals. I have a beautiful garden in the front. If you haven't seen me show it in my videos, if you haven't, I'll link it, with all my beautiful flowers and things that I have growing there. Well, with no snow this winter, snow is an insulator. So with us not having any snow until we're getting it now, but we look where we at. We here we are in March. So all that other time that we wasn't having that stuff, it was snow coming down, but I'm just saying we had so much time that there was no snow on there. And so I'm thinking, our plants aren't used to that. I may have a lot of stuff that die. So I may come spring, don't have certain things die because they didn't get that insulation and they were exposed to that cold. And so just got to wait and see. Just got to wait and see. So let me see here. If I missed anything. Michelle Thompson. Hi, welcome. She says, hello, everyone living in Indiana, and it's snowing here. Well, we're in the same boat. I'm here in New York, zone 6A and B. I got a winter wonderland out there, and it's still coming down. And I just pray to God, please don't let it start doing that torrential rain. Yeah, because the temperatures it's gonna drop, not tremendously, but enough to freeze. And so I just hope that doesn't happen. With the snow, I'll go out there and deal with that. But if that rain comes, you get that ice, and about something bad. That's bad. So I certainly understand what you're saying, Michelle, definitely. People speaking, and Emma, they're saying March comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. I hope this is true this year, as it's been a rough start for us. Oh, well, I hope it's true. I hope it's true for you. Because if you have the whole season, that is very bad. That's rough. I understand that. We've had that before. So I feel you. I hope it goes out like a lamb for you. We had the reverse. It came in like a lamb, now it's going out like a lion. But you know what? I'm thankful for the coming in like a lamb because it could have been worse. You understand? So I get your position. And I hope you don't get that bad ending. Okay. I hope that it does be milder for you. Or your one drought is really bad by, by my way in Florida right now, even though it did rain a little bit earlier tonight. Oh, drought, drought, drought. Drought is terrible. It's terrible. I've lost so many plants to drought. Not in my vegetable garden because I'm watering them, they're in containers and all that. I'm talking about my stuff that's in the ground, ornamental plants, because I don't water all that. Like my ornamental trees or bushes or whatever, I usually don't water them. Like I said, we used to have plenty of rain. So this is now an adjustment that I have got to adjust to. That I'm gonna tell you, I'm probably still not gonna be watering them because that's gonna be too much watering going on. But I think it's making me think. Okay, if you lose something, when you replant something, you better think of something that's drought tolerant. You better think of a different kind of plant to plant there. So that's what we have to do. We have to adjust to these changes, because I love roses. But guess what? I bought one rose bush to replace one that died, and I'm going to see how that does. But roses like water. And so I said to myself, okay, I try to get the kind of roses that's more bushy, like the floribundas or the grandifloras. Because if you get the tea roses, they too delicate. I said, I'm never buying those anymore. Love them, but I have to adjust to the environment that I have and get the kind of roses that are going to be able to survive these droughts and all this stuff. Them other big bushes that I'm talking about, the floribundas and grandifloras, they are tougher. They can handle more things at a little drought or whatever. So, we got to think of these things, of what's coming, and try to prepare for it in the best way we can. Because if you thinking these things are temporary, they're not. Okay. Or your one says, right. Adjustments. Yes, we have to make those adjustments. And just like me, for the upcoming spring that's coming, I have not, like thinking about anything that I'm going to plant. And maybe if the last minute I might change my mind. But at this point right now, I'm not thinking about planting any type of spring stuff. Because the fluctuations in the weather, you can have a real spring that comes in is like a winter, cold, frost, cold. It could be that kind of spring. It could be the kind of spring that you have a little bit of like we had before. We had a spring. We had a little bit of spring. Then high wind. It was so windy out there that they had wind advisories, and I'm out there trying to prepare my pots. And it's a wind advisory. I didn't know it was a wind advisory because I was out there working. And then when I came in later, I was like, oh my goodness. I saw stuff blowing real bad. I didn't know they was advising people don't be out in it if you didn't have to be. And I'm out there trying to prepare my pots in the spring. Okay, so it could be that, or it could just jump straight into summer, which it's done that too. So I'm not thinking about a spring garden. I may at the last minute decide, oh, I'll go out and buy some starts and stick a few spring things in and see what happens. And I may not do that at all and just focus full on summer and then focus on, I want to try to remember to save some areas because I want to put some, save some pots so I can time it where I want to plant a lot of collard greens. And in the past, I've grown them, but not as many as I want to. So I want to increase that. So that's a goal of mine also. Yes, adjustments. Michelle Thompson, we bought a grow lamp to start our vegetable seeds inside. Well, good. That's good. Start them inside. And with your car, depending on where you are, if you're in a place where you can do everything direct sow outside, beautiful. But for me, I can't do that. I have to start grow things inside, and a lot of things that I want to grow, they need a lot of days, and we have a short season. So I make sure that I start them inside so that I can have them. And then when I have them out there in my garden, I love it. And I'm going to take care of them. That's why I'm saying you got to take care of your stuff. Once you put it out there, don't just say, oh, well, it's on its own. You got to take care of it. It's a little baby. Let's see. Okay, I got that one. Lynette Gaskin, wow. Hopefully you won't lose too many things in the garden during your snowy spring. Goodness sakes. Snow with possible freeze as well. Mm-hmm. Yep. These changes cost you money. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are other people. There are people that have had tornadoes in times when they wasn't supposed to have tornadoes. There's people who have had snow. My brother's in California. He was just telling me about the snow and all that. I saw they had snow, and he was telling me about the snow and all that. And they got palm trees. He didn't used to. They're not used to that. It's happening all over. It's happening all over. Different, depending on where you at, because sometimes, like I remember when this past season, a lot of people had very, very long seasons of heat, horrible heat, and in other places, and we had the drought, but we didn't have that. But it doesn't matter. That's why I have compassion for people no matter where you at, because you might have this, I might have that, but everybody getting something. Everybody. So ain't no need of hating on people if they getting on there showing you they got a big, beautiful, lush garden and your stuff is burning up. Don't be hating on them, because everybody got something, and it goes around. It goes around, and so that's what I found, and some of the stuff that has happened to me, if it wasn't nothing but a plant dying, for me, I would have welcomed that, because rather than that wind ripping them shingles off and costing me $600. So I think we all getting something. We all getting something. And all we can do is what I think is have compassion for your neighbor. Have compassion. It don't matter where you live. We all in it together. We all in it together. That's what I think. So, that's what I try to do. That's what I try to live by. She said, you are so right, Emma. I hate to be commercial farmer these days. What a challenge. You got that right. And they pass that on to us. They pass that on to us. Um, the commercial farmers really taking a hit on a lot of things. And I go to the farmers, the local farmers here, and I buy things from them. I buy things from them, and I try to go to my local little family owned little garden center. I try to go there and shop there and buy things from there. You don't want these things to disappear. I'm looking at so many stores and things that are gone. And I think I'm trying to say it might be convenient to get on here and do this and boom, and you got that. But I don't want a ghost town around me. I want people to still be there. I want to have options where to shop, and also things that are grown in your environment. Like that's what I think about sometimes when I get stuff and it dies. And then I think about, wonder where that was grown. And then I think, maybe you need to go to the local garden center here where this was grown right here in this climate and get it, and you'll have a better chance of it surviving. So I think that it's room for everybody. It's room for all, it's room for that. It's room for going to the local places. But I just think I want to support the local places too. I go to a little family owned little garden center, and their prices are a little bit higher. And I still buy certain things, even though it's higher. Because when I was looking for peat moss last year, and everywhere I went, the big store, nobody had it. It was all sold out. But when I went to them, they had plenty of it. Because see, people going everywhere else, but I went to them and I could rely on them to have what I needed. And they had stuff that I needed there. And I got it there, and I paid a little bit more for it. But I was glad to get it, and I was glad to support them. So, it makes me sad when I see everything closing up. It really does. She said, amen, Cynthia. Best Bible fact. Amen. Yes. So sad. Yes, it is. Good for you. That's very nice of you. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, because it's important to me. I'm like I said, I'm a great grandmother, and I can remember I was always a catalog shopper or an online shopper way before any of this took off like it is now. I always did it because I could always find special little things that I didn't see anywhere else. Things are different now, though. I've seen so many changes, and I just be thankful sometimes for the things that I do have, because I know I can't get those anymore. And, you know, so it's a lot of big changes that have taken place here, and not for the best, not for the best. So I think that it's important to have variety and options, choices. So we want to keep having that. And sometimes you might have to pay a little bit more to keep that place there, because look what they're competing with. Peat is banned as of next year here in the UK. All compost is now peat free except for any remaining stock if you can find it. Yes, I heard that. and it's probably going to come here too. I was aware of that, and they are encouraging people to buy that cocoa core. Um, and pretty soon you won't be able to get the peat moss. But as long as you can get the peat moss, I'm gonna get the peat moss because to me it's better. And I've been gardening for years. I always, before years, I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago, I used peat moss. So you're gonna have to ban it on me because I'm gonna keep on buying it. Um, I think the reason they said they was doing it, and if anybody can remember what this is something how it's made. It's kind of some kind of way, whatever it comes out of is endangered or something like that. If you know why it's banned, let me know. Okay, she said, wow, full of fiber and wood chips, awful. Okay, are you talking about, Emma, are you talking about the cocoa core or peat moss? What are you referring about? The one that you say is awful. Um, yeah, so, I mean, okay, let's see. Oh, peat-free compost. I bet. I bet. So that's why we got to get on it of making our own, because that's probably, what I just said earlier in here about certain things that I've been buying and how I noticed little changes in them and the wood chips and the other little things that I found in them that wasn't in there before. I bet you that's what it is. Them taking the peat moss out of it and doing it and it's making it to me, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good quality. And I don't like it. Peatlands are the UK's largest carbon store. Climate change response. So no doubt it will be coming your way. Yes, I had read about this. I read about this some months ago. And yeah, I knew about it. And so, and I knew that that's why they were pushing this cocoa core. I knew that also. And so I said, well, it's just a matter of time. I had heard about the ban. And yeah, I know. And I wouldn't mind one thing going if another thing came that was better. But if another thing comes and it's not as good, then I got to try to do something to make some changes so I can still have the same quality that I had when I, mix my soils or do whatever I use to. And I've been using that so many years that that's going to be a hard adjustment for me because I'm going to be picky. I'm going to be picky about what I want to use. And, like I said, choices. And guess what? We ain't going to have many. That's the sad part of it. Yeah. So that is things that we have to think about in gardening, and whether it's ornamental or whether it's just for your fruits and vegetables. You got to think about what's coming your way and what changes you have to make, and hopefully the plants won't suffer. So I find that some things I have a hard time finding is because they give you little packages. You used to be able to get a great big bag of this or a great big bag of that. But now you find you can only get a small little thing of this or a small little thing of that. And it's higher in price. And And I really, it's so many things that happen. I don't like that because when I need to get something, a small little bag, it's not going to help me. I need something bigger. And then I don't want to buy a whole bunch of small little bags. The peat not being included must be replaced with something else in that bag of compost. Core is, I can't make out that word. Core is something lifeless, so not a great replacement for peat. You got that right. That's why I don't like it. Because, see, years ago, when I started gardening, and I'm talking about over 20 years, peat moss was the master gardeners and the people that I learned from sent me the peat moss. And the peat moss and other things that they recommended is what I used. And one reason that I believe I became a good gardener and my things did well. And I don't want to just get something and just put it in there because that's all you can get. So that's what, if it was to get so bad, that's why I'm saying I would want to put some of my natural soil on my land, get some of my soil and put it in there because you need those organic things to add, cow manure, peat moss, bone meal, different things like that that you need to put in that people have been using for years. And if you got clay soil, which is what I have in the ground, because I'm growing in pots now, but I just use the stuff because I know that you're putting something in your even if it's in your potting mix in your pot, you're putting something in there that's good for your growing medium. So, I mean, we don't have a choice about it, and that bothers me. Losing your choices. Core is perfect for seed sowing, but after that, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And we're not here. Once I run out of places and they don't have it anymore, I'm going to have to get something. But I don't know about the core. I don't know that I'm going to get that. Like I said, I might just start putting in some of my taking some of this. Well, I don't know what I'll do because I'm just thinking about it. If you buy any bag of soil and they don't have peat in it anymore, they probably gonna have the core in it. So, and not only that, what I want to know is, I'm not saying anything against the core, but I'm just saying, what is it made out of? What's in it? I don't know. So I just want to know that. I want to know that before I would go out and buy a big thing of that. I would want to know what is that? What did that come from? So what do you use as a fertilizer? What do I use as a fertilizer? I take my dandelions, pull them up, and make me some dandelion fertilizer. I use dandelions in there. I use kitchen scraps in there. And I'm gonna start adding now. I hadn't been adding it before, but I found out I have a lot of clover in my yard, and I found out that clover is something very good. I knew it was good. The rabbits love it. That's gourmet to them. They would leave my stuff alone and eat that clover that's in my ground. And so now that I know that that's good, I'm gonna start adding my grass in there with the clover because I really hardly have much grass. It's mostly clover. And I'm gonna put that clover in there and I fertilize with that. And I used to buy fertilizers, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm not gonna be buying all that stuff because my goal this year is um, to cut back on the money that I'm spending, find ways of doing things that are going to work. I have comfrey, but my comfrey's in a pot. So I really just use it for chop and drop. I chop and drop it on stuff because the roots can't get deep down in the ground and get all that stuff out, whereas my dandelions can, and I have plenty of them. And I've done research on them. I've done research to find out that dandelions are very good, not only for that weed fertilizer that I'm making, but also for um, medicinal stuff. I did a video on that, and I read. If you want to see it, I was alive, and I talked about medicinal stuff, herbs, and all that. I can't remember everything about the dandelion, but it was like the leaf is good for this and this and this, and then the root is good for this and this and that. I never knew all that stuff. So, yeah. So there are things out there that we're calling weeds, but actually they're good things. And also food, a dandelion is. Cocoa fibers. Okay, so coconut fibers. Okay. Wow, clovers. Yes. Um, so the cocoa fibers. Yeah, now that you say that, I remember when I read that it did talk about that. Um, so that makes me think, what kind of nutrition is in that? What kind of life is in that? I don't know. So just questions that I have to find out about. Yes, dandelions are very medicinal. They have read about it. Oh, I have read about them before. Yes, I just found that one out this year. I bought a book and I was reading in there about the dandelions, and I was like, oh, wow! I've been using them for my weed fertilizer. Well, see, I've been feeding my plants. No wonder they've been doing so good. So now I said, look what it's. I didn't know it had all these good qualities and things in the dandelion, and people are out there putting stuff on them to kill them and stuff. And here you have something that is valuable that you have in your mind. It's a weed. It's not. It's a good thing. So I use that, and that has been very good for me. And I tried to buy the best soil I could get, and I used the cow manure and all that because, see, I think I agree with what people are saying when they say it's not about the fertilizer, it's about your soil. I agree with that. It's about your soil. So if your soil, you have good soil, if you have the nutrients and all the things in that soil, it is balanced and doing good, then you don't be needing all these fertilizers. Emma, uh, it's a growing medium, only I have noticed a few bands that include some feed within it, but it's orange and I want black, rich compost. Oh, okay. And see over there in the UK, I used to think, guys, I think you had real good compost because when I watched the gardening channel, oh, I don't know what his name is. There's a gardener, and he's in the UK, and I wish I knew his name. I can't think of it right now. The later it gets, the more I can't remember. But anyway, Monty, I think Monty something. Well, anyway, he always would have such beautiful compost and stuff, and that he would be using. And I was like, wow, look at the quality. That's really good. You can tell that's some good stuff there. Um, oh my, I don't know what's happening to my computer, but I can't see you or hear you. Oh, is anybody else having a problem seeing me or hearing me? That's Oreo times one. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, she says I'm back with you. Oh, okay, okay. Good, good. Just probably something, you know, zip just happened. Um, yeah, so I think that we really got to think about the stuff that we put in these containers and the stuff that we buying. I was watching somebody today, and they was talking about they bought this certain soil, and the soil turned out to be horrible. And I guess they bought a lot of it, and just planted. They just bought it and just put it in the pots and just planted in it straight like that, and their stuff didn't do well and all that. And then they had to uh, amend. After they had that whole bad, everything went bad. Um, they had to amend that soil, and they said that soil was like concrete. He was showing that the soil was like concrete, and he was showing how he had to have the auger on the drill and just going down in the pot. He was showing how it was, and I was thinking to myself as he was amending it in the pot, if it's like concrete, I wonder what's in that. Wonder what's in it. But they had bought so much of it. I mean, so much, pallets and pallets of it. So throwing that out, I guess, wasn't an option, you know. So that was something I had just seen today. Emma, my family garden is Monty Monty Monty's channel. This core is orange. I meant, and it doesn't look right. Oh, okay. Mm, you're probably right. You're probably right. You really have to. I bought some just for my seedlings that I'm doing because I'm gonna link that video of how I mix my soil up to do my seedlings in here. And I bought a bag of some soil. And when I got that soil, I looked at that soil. I said, "This look like just wood chips, broken down wood chips. That looks like that's all in here." And I didn't like it. And it wasn't cheap soil either. I bought this soil last season, but I bought it last season for the purpose of being able to have soil when I need it. And it's early because I do things earlier. And here where I'm at, they wait till you right up on the garden time to get the stuff in here, unless you go to the big box stores. And then you got to choose the brands that they have there for you. So I had bought this because I thought it was a better quality, but when I got it and I looked at this, I didn't like it. And so then I went out and bought some more different kind to mix with that kind to try to make something decent. So it's hard when and if you container gardening, um, it's a lot you got to think about. Yes, it's so disappointing, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's very disappointing. And when you think of what you paid for something, it's not cheap. So you think of what you paid for it. If I thought topsoil in those bags was a good choice for me, and I'm not judging anybody else who wants to use that, That's not why I'm saying that, but I'm just talking about for me. If I thought that was a good choice for me, I would buy it and mix it, amend it. But in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, where'd you get this from? What's in it? And I think about that, like I said, with my driveway, and I knew that that soil had had years and years and years of that salt from the road going in that soil. So when they dug the driveway up and they had, and it looked beautiful, it looked like real good soil. And they asked me, did I want it? I said, mm-mm. Even though I could have used some soil, I said, no. They took it on away. And I was glad that they took it away because I thought to myself, I don't want to put that in my garden with all that salt that's been building up for years in there. I don't want that. So that's all. You just got to think about what you're getting and just try to do the best you can. And I'm not knocking anybody or any company or talking about anybody in a bad way. I'm just trying to grow some healthy food that hopefully what I'm growing is healthier than what I could purchase. I don't want to be growing something that's worse for me. And that's what I'm basically trying to prevent. And you can only do as much as you can within your pocketbook. Whatever your pocketbook allows you, that's what you can do. And that's just the way it is. That's a fact. Oreo times one, sure, you are right about the salt accumulating in it. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the soil looked so good. The man looked at me like I was crazy when I said I didn't want it. He said, "Are you sure, ma'am?" I said, "Oh, yeah, no, you can have it. Go, you can have that." Because I knew, I'm not about to put that in my garden. No, you got to think about it. So my mind said, okay, where'd you take that soil? I'm sure you sold it because it sure did look good. I'm sure you sold that soil. And who got that? And did somebody put that in their garden? So I just be thinking about stuff like that and do the best I can. And I'm gonna hate to see the peat moss go. I'm gonna hate to see that go. And I feel I got some dirt on this little over acre out here. I got some soil. I got a 3-bay compost bin set up. Okay. Yes, you will know what's in it. Yes, that's right. You will know what's in it. So whatever you put in it, you will know what's in it. So that's the bottom line. And then we can't be perfect. We can't be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. Everything got something in it, but we can try to do the best we can. That's what I say. Do the best you can, and have knowledge. Use that knowledge in the best way that you can, and grow your food. Grow your food. And if you have to go with something that's less expensive or whatever, do a pocketbook can do. So that's the way I feel. And so this year I'm going to be trying new things, and I'm just going to see what's going to happen. What's going to happen, because it's going to be changes for me, and it's going to be changes that I haven't done before because I'm having to adjust to things. And then I'm going to have to see, okay, these changes, how are they going to affect my garden? How are they going to affect my garden? So, I always like to use the cow manure. I haven't found that I have a problem with that. I always like to use that. I always like to use the bone meal. I haven't found that I have a problem with that. I used to use a lot of neem oil, And I'm not saying I won't use neem oil, but last year I didn't spray anything. I don't know if I had a good year or what it was. I didn't spray anything. There were bugs out there, there were insects out there was stuff that was going on. And I put diatomaceous earth. That was the only thing I did use. And I didn't use the neem. And I have nothing against neem if somebody want to use the neem. But I just thought about it because I had grew some greens, not last year, but the year before, the last season before. And I was cooking the greens and I fell asleep. And I fell asleep and the greens burnt in the pot. The greens burnt in the pot and all I could smell was neem oil. And I had washed them greens and washed them greens and because my grandmama taught me how to wash greens. And they were washed really good. But all I could smell was neem oil. And that just kind of turned me off. And I'm not saying I won't ever use it again, but I'm going to be just not as much. I'm just trying to go more natural with stuff. Yeah, stuff is natural, but everything's a chemical. Everything, even if it's organic, it's still a chemical. We are chemicals. I cut them in small pieces and use them on my plants. Oh, you talk about, I missed some stuff. Do you throw your banana peels on your plant's soil? I haven't been, but I'm going to start because I don't really eat bananas. But I'm going to start buying some bananas so that I can do that. Yeah, but I believe that that's good. I believe the bananas are very good. That's why that's one of the things that changes that I was thinking I was going to make is to start buying some bananas and using those peels and stuff like that. I was almost tempted today to buy some. I just don't eat them. I try to be careful of what kind of fruit I eat, and just for health reasons. And but yeah, banana peels. I absolutely believe that would be good. Anything natural like that, I think the more we do stuff like that, to me, the better. I think the better. I think for our gardens. I see we got 10 people. We got 8 thumbs up. Go ahead. Give me the thumbs up, you guys. Yeah, so I think the bananas would be a good thing. I see people that take, they got banana trees and they take them banana trees and chop them leaves off. And I haven't seen them throw the peels on there, but I assume they're using them and they throw that stuff on there and them trees are doing really good with it. So I think that's another thing to think about with fertilizing too, is the stuff that comes off of the plant, throwing it on the dirt because it less it's diseased. Because I know for my magnolia, I don't have a southern magnolia. I have another kind of magnolia. Some people call it a tulip tree. My girlfriend in North Carolina calls it a tulip tree. But anyway, the flower leaves, the petals, the leaves, everything that falls off of that tree, and that tree is messy. I just take the rake and the broom and I brush that stuff right back on that tree, on the ground, and use it as a mulch for the tree. And I let the nutrients from that stuff go down and feed the tree. And I did a video. If you go on there and look and see, it's the early spring color video, 2022. Look at that magnolia. That thing was busting out with color all over the place. It was so full of color, it was unbelievable with flowers. I mean, it was packed. And that's the fertilizer, taking its own stuff and putting it back on it. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff that we can do instead of going out buying something and putting on there. Put that on there because that's what happens in nature. Okay, let me see what's going on. Mama J, good evening, Mama J. Welcome. Emma, I seen someone stuff banana peels in an old milk jug and let it sit in some water for a time and then use that liquid as fertilizer. And I have not tried that yet. Ooh, that sounds real good. That sounds real good. That sounds like that's some good stuff. See, that's the kind of fertilizer I'm talking about. That type of fertilizer. Michelle Thompson. Some people still use eggs in their garden. Yes, I do. I take, well, not whole eggs, though. I take the egg shells and I don't boil them or grind them up or anything. I just squish them and get them in small little pieces because it's not going to be available to those plants for a while. But I haven't found that it hurt anything. And I throw it into my weed fertilizer. When I say kitchen scraps, I put in there with the kitchen scraps some eggshells. And I didn't do it last season, but I have taken crushed eggshells and put it on top of, bags, grow bags and different things. I have done that before and it didn't hurt anything. I believe it helped. And so, yeah. And Oreo Time 1, you are right on that, using all peels, flowers, and all of that as fertilizer. Yes. Yes. I'm telling you, that tree blooms better now than it ever did with me putting all that stuff back on it and letting that mulch it. It's a lot of stuff. So first of all, it creates a mulch. And then secondly, the stuff that's going back into it from its own petals and leaves is going back into it. And that tree explodes with flowers. There's not a place that you can look that there's not a flower. So these are the types of things that we can start doing in our gardens. They free. They free. And look at the results. And so I think we have to learn what we've lost. We've lost a lot of knowledge, of how to do things naturally, how to use the environment, what things are good, what things are out there that are beneficial. All these things that people did before, the generations and generations before us, but we've lost them. So we have to get that stuff back. That's why it's important for people to share. Because as you share and as creators here, if you're a creator, you share that stuff on your channel and other people see it and other people start doing that and other people start having results from that, we're getting it back. We're learning the old ways again. I absolutely believe in that. Let's see what I missed here. Yep, we sure have lost all that. Yes, you're right, Oria. You're right. Emma, no better soil than on a forest floor, left to their own left to their own devices. Things fall and compost there on the ground and feed its surroundings back to Eden. Absolutely. Absolutely. So think about that. We should think about that. And that's why I said I wanted to put more life into my containers. I want to have life in my containers because life into my containers, life into my food, you know? I don't want dead stuff in there. I want life. So I'm working on that. I'm not perfect with it. You know, we had old habits die hard, but I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to make sense out of it. I'm trying to think to myself, you got all this soil out here. How come you're not using that soil? You know, how come you're not using that stuff? You just got it sitting here and you buying this, but you're not using that. To me, that doesn't make sense to me, for me. It may have weeds in it, it may have bugs, it may have diseases or whatever, but I feel it has life in it also. So I'm going to try a little bit of that and see how that works. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, I find that I have some kind of horrible problem or whatever, then I'll deal with that when the time comes. But when you grow in the ground, that's what you're growing in your soil. Now, I would tell you, we talking about container gardening. Well, stuff is not going to get as big in a container as it would in the ground. But I can get stuff pretty big in a container. I can get it pretty big, but it still is not going to be as big as it would if I had it in the ground. It's not. So that's something to think about. You know, if you don't have to have a container garden, I have to have a container garden. But I love growing in containers, you know, but if you have a mix, some things in container and some things not, you know. Okay. Who we got? Oh, JT Jr. Hi. Hi in Alaska. Welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm trying to share whatever knowledge I have, and I hope everybody share what they got too. I've been watching you 2 hours now, and I don't think I've saw you take a drink once. Need to get you some drip irrigation for those lives, yes. But y'all, I got to get off of here. I just been thinking that I got to get off of here. I'm wiggling and squirming and everything. But I have enjoyed this. I'm going to try to do more lives. I thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming in here. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, go ahead, hit the thumbs up. All right, everybody, have a good evening. If I haven't said hello to somebody, hello to you. Bye-bye.